Hello friends, I am Guna Mathivanan, Current Affairs faculty at Opposite IAS Academy. In this video, we will be discussing our 155th Current Affairs hitlist topic, that is regarding Emission Gap Report. Friends, Emission Gap Report, it is an annual report released by UNEP, United Nations Environment Program. Right? To understand the reason behind this report, first we should know about this Paris Agreement, Paris Climate Agreement. So we all know in 2015 UNFCCC Conference of Parties 21 was held in Paris. So in this Paris, the parties to this conference, they decided to reduce their carbon emissions, greenhouse gas emissions. Why? To ensure that the global average temperature is not exceeding 2 degrees Celsius from the pre-industrial level. So what happened? Let us assume 1850s. So before 1850s, that is pre-industrial level. Let us assume the temperature in 1850 is 27 degrees Celsius. Let us assume average temperature 1850 was 27 degrees Celsius. Now from 1850s, industrialization started. Now the carbon emission got increased. Now the global temperature in the year 2015, the global temperature got increased by 1 degree Celsius. That is, it became 27 degrees Celsius plus 1 degree Celsius. It became 28 degrees Celsius. The global average temperature, when compared to the pre-industrial temperature, it got increased by 1 degree Celsius in 2015. So given the trend before 2100, before the end of the century, the temperature will cross additional 2 degrees Celsius mark. That is, from 28 it will become 29.1 or 29.2. That is, from pre-industrial level it will become, the temperature will be increased by another 2 degrees Celsius mark. So this was realized in 2015 in the Paris conference. The parties to this UNFCCC, they decided to reduce their carbon emissions, and they were setting target. That is, by 2030, what will be the carbon emission? So they were setting up some target, and individual countries, they were coming up with something called as nationally determined contributions, NDCs. You all know whatever I am explaining now, it is environment. It's a part of your core environmental topic which you would have studied, right, as a part of your general studies. So I am not explaining all those stuff. Let me explain only about the current issue, but to have an understanding about the current issue, I am giving you an idea about this Paris Agreement. So the significance of Paris Agreement is these parties to this UNFCCC, they came to a conclusion. They decided that they will reduce the carbon emission so that they will ensure that the global average temperature is not crossing 2 degrees Celsius mark. At any point, it should not cross 2 degrees Celsius mark, and the countries, they also said, let us make sure that the temperature is not crossing 1.5 degrees Celsius mark. The bigger aim is ensure that the global average temperature is not crossing 2 degrees Celsius mark, but the bigger ambition is we will ensure it is not crossing that additional 1.5 degrees Celsius mark itself. Already in 2015 it crossed 1 degree Celsius, and you should know in the year 2018-19 it became 1.2 degrees Celsius. The temperature got increased by 1.2 degrees Celsius. Given the trend, by 2050 itself we might cross the 2 degrees Celsius mark. So we have to take efforts to curb the greenhouse gas emission. This emission gap report, as the name clearly says, it will find out the gap. So what is the Paris target? What is the Paris target? We have to reduce the carbon or greenhouse gases by a particular tons. We have to reduce the carbon emission by a particular amount of tons. Now where we stand? What is the expectation? What is the reality? What is the gap in the emission? Keeping the Paris Agreement deal in mind, what is the gap in the emission? That gap, what is the gap? That will be given in this emission gap report. Not just that, this report will also give some solution, way forward. Okay, what we should do to ensure that we are minimizing the gap, right? So our ultimate ambition is to ensure that the global average temperature is not crossing this 2 degrees Celsius mark, and we have to ensure we are preventing in that 1.5 degrees Celsius mark itself, for which in the Paris conference some agreement, some deal was arrived, whether the current emission levels are in tune with the ambition. That will be studied by this report. They will give the statistics and they will tell you what to be done to ensure that we are becoming in tune, we are becoming in line, we are getting in tune with the Paris ambitions, right? So the report was saying that from 2010 till 2020, the greenhouse gas emission is growing by 1.4% year after year. In the year 2019 alone, it got increased by close to 2.3%, I guess. More than 2%, 2.3, 2.4, something like that. In 2019 alone, almost 60 billion gigatons of carbon dioxide was emitted. 60 billion gigatons of carbon dioxide was emitted in 2019 alone, of which 36% of carbon was emitted from 7 developed countries like USA, UK, Russia, only from 7 countries. And you should know that top 1% of rich countries, they are responsible for the highest carbon emission. You take the bottom poor 50% of the countries, you take the bottom 50 countries, 50% of the countries in the world in terms of economy. So bottom poor 50% of the countries, how much they emit? They emit some X. This 1%, top rich 1% countries, they emit 2X. They emit 2 times of what the bottom 50 is actually emitting. The biggest emitter is China. The biggest emitter is China, then comes USA, then comes European Union including UK, then comes India. India is the 4th biggest emitter. Though India is the 4th biggest emitter, you should know in terms of per capita emission, we are just 1/3 of the global average. In terms of per capita emission, we are 1/3 of the global average, and we are 1/7 of America's per capita emission. Right? If an American is emitting 70 tons of carbon a year, Indian is emitting only 10 tons. That is the difference. But because of the population size, we are in the 4th position. But in terms of per capita, right, when we compare with America, only 1/7 of what American emits is what Indians are emitting. But still, in terms of size, we are the 4th largest emitter. COVID, that came as a blessing in disguise. Friends, because of this COVID, there was global lockdown, and this lockdown resulted in considerable amount of reduction of carbon emission. The carbon emission got reduced significantly, and this reduction in the carbon emission is going to help us for a green recovery, right? So we can get recovered. See, this, even if we would have planned, definitely this much carbon emission could have not been reduced. But this COVID triggered lockdown, that helped us to reduce a lot of carbon emission. So that helps us to recover, that helps us in recovering. So followed by this lockdown, the governments, they should make use of this opportunity, and they have to make sure that their carbon emission is getting reduced. Either the government should take efforts to depend on renewable energies, the government should take efforts to switch over to electric vehicles. Like that, they have to move towards some other alternatives to ensure that we are taking the advantage of this green recovery. This lockdown, this COVID gave some advantage in terms of carbon emission, that we have to make use of it. If we make use of it, we can ensure, we can double sure that the global average temperature is not crossing the 2 degrees Celsius mark, but we have to make use of it. But going by the trends of the developed countries, their emission pattern is not in tune with the demand of the Paris Agreement. So more responsibility is with the developed countries. more responsibilities with the developed countries. So this report is highlighting these points, and this report is also giving some way forward, some solution. So what is the solution? It says that, so every year the world can cut 12.5 gigatons of carbon dioxide a year by switching over to renewable energy. Industrial sector, right, by changing their cooling systems, they can embrace renewable energy and they can reduce the carbon emission by 7.3 gigatons of carbon dioxide emission. Agriculture, they can reduce up to 6.7 tons of gigatons of carbon dioxide emission. With the help of forests, we can reduce the carbon emission by 5.3 gigatons. Transportation sector, by switching to cycling, walking, electric vehicles, we can reduce the carbon emission by 4.7 gigatons. Construction sector, so by adapting the design in such a way that we can reduce the carbon emission to a greater extent up to 5.9 gigatons of carbon emission per year. So these points were suggested in this report. So hopefully the governments, they adopt these points and ensure that the carbon emission is getting reduced, so that we can be safe in the hands of nature, right. So now based on our discussion, I have given an MCQ. Find out the right answer and give it in the comment section. So 600 MCQs covering December to April, plus budget economic survey MCQ, plus economic survey budget video. If you are interested, you can buy by clicking the link given in the description box. 600 MCQs covering June to November 2020. If you are interested, again you can buy by clicking the link given in the description box. Alright, in PDF format is available. Here I have given the features of my exclusive revised current affairs program. If you are interested, you can go through. Any doubt, you can make a call to the given number. Alright, so I hope the video was useful. Tomorrow I will meet you with a similar exciting, interesting, important topic. Till then, bye, take care.